real good feeling. This place is jumping off hard as it can get. No, we won't ever stop dancing on the edge. We like it dangerous, we like to see you split. Turn up another notch, you ain't seen nothing yet. Let me tell you something, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, let me tell you something. Right now, right now. Right now, right now. Right now, right now. Right now, right now. Got a real good feeling. Got a real good feeling. Like there is lightning deep in my bones. Got a real good feeling. I won't hit no ceiling. I'm going higher than I've ever known. Yeah, I got a real good feeling. I won't hit no ceiling. Like there is lightning deep in my bones. Got a real good feeling. I won't hit no ceiling. I'm going higher than I've ever known. Got a real good feeling. Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling. Got a real good feeling. Like there is lightning deep in my bones. Yeah, I got a real good feeling. I won't hit no ceiling. I'm going higher than I've ever known. Yeah, I got a real good feeling. Got a real good feeling. Like there is lightning deep in my bones. Yeah, I got a real good feeling. I won't hit no ceiling. I'm going higher than I've ever known. I got a real good feeling.
Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and welcome to the show. Welcome to Coffee and Crypto. Today, guys, we have a lot to talk about because I am going to be showing you a chart that has a very ambitious prediction on Bitcoin. Guys, drop a 1 in chat if you are excited. I am joined, as always, by your president, Non-Crypto Tim. How you doing, the beard?
What's up, everybody? Welcome. I'm joined, as always, by Shades. And guys, just like Jebb and his very, very good economic sense, Shades came to us for only $2.99. I'd never seen that sticker before. So
Very good, Will.
He's like the Camry of Shades.
Exactly, with the
Yeah.
Camry of Shades. Guys, we are also joined, as always, by our producer, Smee the Tree, also known as Smay. How you doing,
Hi
Smay?
guys, I like you guys a lot. You're really cool. I bet you smell good too. So
That's a little creepy. Anyway, guys, make sure you smash that like button if you're looking forward to the stream today. We are going to be starting off by going over the 5 reasons why Bitcoin is about to head into a massive, massive rally. And Tim, before we get into it, can you please tell us about the predictions we made last week, who won, and where we're going this week?
Well,
Let's do it.
Smay won. Short case in point. Although he did it by hating, here's the thing, Smay.
Hater.
I think the pessimism
Say
and
hater
the
in
hating
chat.
is coming to an end this week. I think the W is coming to Team Tim or Team Jebb because we're going to go up this week. That's what I'm going to say. But stick around for the end of the show when we actually give all of our price predictions because you don't want to miss it.
Someone asked if Smay is stoned. That's pretty funny.
Well, he's just
no,
Smay.
I'm just me.
Definitely not Smay. He's just sitting over there looking pretty, you know. Guys, we have 5 things that we want to be watching in Bitcoin this week. Tim, would you like to introduce them or shall I?
The five things? Mm-hmm. You got it.
Let's do it, guys. If you can switch over to my chart, Smay, we're going to run through these one at a time. We're going to talk about all of them in the course of this stream, but we're actually going to start with some Bitcoin technical analysis even before we get into it. Go ahead and switch to my screen. I'll give you guys a basic overview of what we're going to be discussing today. We're going to do some technical analysis, and then we'll run through them one at a time. The very first thing that we're going to need to talk about is that the stock market is reflecting COVID's mayhem. Keep tuned, stay tuned for that because you will find out what we mean by that. We also see a breakout is on the cards for Bitcoin, which we're actually about to discuss this one first because we're going to be doing some technical analysis on Bitcoin. We'll come back to that in a second. Coinbase punctuates booming on-chain indicators. We're going to talk about that. This is the chart that you guys see in our thumbnail. Bitcoin after the third halving. We're going to spend quite a bit of time discussing this and price targets and price predictions for Bitcoin based on it, so make sure you stay around for that. Ether is seeing fresh new highs, sitting up around $2,150 at the time that we are live right now. So we're going to be talking about that. And we also need to talk about Coinbase outflows because Coinbase is going IPO in just a couple of days. But we need to go ahead and start off with some Bitcoin technical analysis. Drop a 1 in chat if you were ready and you were excited, and let's get started. Guys, something very important happened over the weekend. I'm going to clean up my chart just a little bit, bring us back down to bare bones so that you guys know what's going on. As you guys can see, Bitcoin has been in a consolidation pattern for the last 6 weeks or so. In fact, in that time, Bitcoin rallied 40% in 44 days and now has broken a very important trend line. You guys will know that there was a downtrending level of resistance right here. We had resistance sitting at just under $60,000. I'll show you that right here. It was hard for Bitcoin to get through this for a time, but we have now broken it. In fact, yesterday, we broke it on a candle body. That's something we're going to be talking about here in a minute based on the weekly chart candle body. But for right now, take a look at the daily chart. We've broken $60,000. We're trading at $60,400, and we now have a new double top at $61,250. You can see with these two highs right here, and this also corresponds to these two candle bodies right over here back on the 13th and 14th of March. So we broke resistance at 60,000 flat. We have new resistance at $61,250, and we have resistance sitting at our current all-time high of $61,800. So I'll go ahead and switch these back to red. So these are the trend lines. These are the flat levels of support and resistance that we need to look at. But now we need to understand what is actually going on Bitcoin. Where is our momentum heading, and where are we going next? Guys, Bitcoin had been in a symmetrical triangle pattern for quite some time. We have now broke it somewhat definitively. You'll understand why I say it like that here in a little bit. Bitcoin broke bullish here on the 10th of April. That was Friday, if I remember correctly. That was Saturday, excuse me. On Saturday, we broke out, and we've now rallied. Here's the problem, though. When we look at our volume is relatively low. Guys, what do we want to see on a breakout of a consolidation pattern? We want to see high volume, we want to see high volatility, and we want to see high retail investor interest. We'll go ahead and look at the retail investor interest next over on Google Trends, guys. A simple Google search for Google Trends will bring you to a Google website called Google Trends, and if you type in Bitcoin, you can see something called the search volume on the keyword Bitcoin. You'll notice it's a relative chart from 0 to 100, representing the absolute low to the absolute high. The absolute high of Bitcoin search interest happened on the week of January the 3rd, and relative to that, we have pulled back to 42% of the search volume on Google that we saw back then. That makes sense because when we're in a consolidation pattern, the way that we have been for the last several months, you're generally going to see a drop-off in volume, volatility, and retail investor interest. That retail investor interest happens on Google Trends. Volume, we can see, has been declining, and you guys can also tell that the volatility has been dropping as the Bollinger Bands have constricted upon themselves. So let's go back to full screen because I want to present to you what exactly that means. We are presented now with a conundrum. Bitcoin looks like it's rallying, looks like it's breaking $60,000, looks like it's making headway. So does Ethereum. By the way, we'll talk about that a little bit later. All of these bullish things are happening on the background for Bitcoin and Ethereum. But the question is, why have we not gone into a massive breakout yet? I know you're wondering that yourself. Why has Bitcoin not broken $62,000 yet? Why are we not trading at $70,000 or $80,000? What is taking Bitcoin so long? That is the core question of this stream, and that's what we're going to be working on answering this entire stream. I want to hear what you guys think even before I get into it. So go ahead and tell me in chat. And I also want to open the floor for any questions before we move on. Tim, have you seen anything good in chat that we can address before I move on with the technical analysis?
Yeah, I've seen some stuff about XRP for sure. Because we didn't even talk about in the beginning the XRP price, the Binance coin price.
Yes, we're going to get to that in a minute.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'm trying to look for any questions regarding what you're talking Bitcoin.
Someone said Jebb runs yellow lights. You, my friend, Stimmy Snurdly, you follow me on Twitter because I asked about that on Twitter this morning.
He does.
It's very true. I do. Yeah. People think that Camrys are slow just because they're sedans, and they're not. They're actually pretty quick. I'm going to get a lot of comments about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, if there's nothing else, we can go ahead and jump back onto the chart. Let's go ahead and do it. Guys, here is the next thing I want to show you. This is incredibly important from the technical standpoint. This right here. What is this, guys? This thing is the reason that Bitcoin's about to go into a huge rally, and it's why I have a big price prediction on Bitcoin that we're going to get to later on in the stream. We see that a MACD cross just happened on Bitcoin. If you saw those red vertical lines on my chart earlier, you will know what that means. Every time that Bitcoin has a bullish MACD cross, bar none, more or less, you see a large rally follow. Notice this time when we saw a MACD cross, over the next 70 days, we rallied 90%. Notice this bullish MACD cross, we rallied 70% in 19 days. This bullish MACD cross, we rallied 20% in 5 days. We have now seen a bullish MACD cross on Bitcoin. And I hear what you're saying. You're saying, Jebb, but a week and a half ago, we had a bullish MACD cross back on the last day of March, and no rally ensued. So what? Here's the reason why I think it's going to be different this time. And I could be wrong. We could continue trading sideways for another 2 weeks. The reason I think it's going to be different has actually not so much to do with the technicals as it has to do with some of these fundamentals we're going to discuss. So let's come back to the technical analysis a little bit later, because we're going to have to zoom out from the technicals, look at the fundamentals, and then put it all together into one cohesive piece of analysis so that we can make some predictions about where Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is going. So let's go ahead and discuss these 5 things. Tim, stocks reflect coronavirus mayhem. Can you introduce this topic for us?
I mean, at the end of the day, you guys, unless you've been living under a rock, have been living through the coronavirus conundrum, through this chaos. The truth is, despite the coronavirus chaos and the economic downpour that happened in almost every single country, Bitcoin still continued to climb. That being said, could it have possibly climbed higher if coronavirus hadn't been here? And that's, I think, what this person is starting to get at. We're going to look at, I think it says the UK is just coming out of a complete shutdown. Germany and France are still kind of muddled. It's kind of not really clear what's happening there. And if you live inside the United States like we do, we've really never known what's really happening here. That's kind of what's plaguing us.
That's been the play for the last 18 months.
But I think the thought is that as we're starting to emerge out of the COVID chaos, I mean, COVID's going to be around for a while, but the chaos probably is about to leave. We're going to see a boost from that.
So guys, if you don't know, certainty versus uncertainty is a very important concept in markets. The more certain that people are of how a market is going to act into the future, the more safe they will feel and the more likely they are to invest. That just goes back to risk tolerance, guys. The more risk averse that people are, the less likely they are to invest, because investment carries an inherent risk in it, right? So, since we don't really know what's going on, with the United Kingdom having a lot of uncertainty, with India, as it says in this article, having quite a bit of uncertainty, with France and Germany, and the United States having all kinds of uncertainty right now, it's difficult for people to want to join in the stock market and in the cryptocurrency market. And by the way, this comes at a time that the S&P 500, the SPY, is hitting a new all-time high day after day after day. We could get into that for like 5 live streams about why the stock market is rallying when it shouldn't be. A stock market crash is coming in the next 2 years. You mark my words. You can quote me on that. But the fact of the matter remains right now that people are uncertain of the stock market, and especially uncertain of what they deem to be speculative assets. It means that they are skeptical of something like a Bitcoin when they don't know what it is. The reason this is important, guys, is because a lot of that uncertainty is starting to be assuaged with vaccine rollout. With the fact that many countries are coming out of lockdown, that uncertainty is starting to be removed from the market, and that is going to indicate that people are more likely to look to more speculative investments like Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin's a very speculative investment, but we need to meet people where they are. Most of the world feels like it's a speculative investment, so we need to keep that in mind. Anyway, we also want to talk about the breakout on the cards for Bitcoin. This goes back to the technical analysis we did a minute ago, guys. There's a huge breakout on the cards for Bitcoin, because if you zoom out, you will notice Bitcoin is more or less in a giant consolidation pattern. And even before I get into that, I want to mention this. A lot of people think that this rally over here is the same as this rally back over here when Bitcoin rallied to $20,000. Here's why that is not true. Bitcoin rallied to $20,000 and it stayed in this region between $15,000 and $20,000 for 20 days. We have sat up here right below $60,000 for going on 2.5 months. We've been up here for over 60 days has Bitcoin been above $50,000. That is not the sign of a top of a market. That is the sign of a bull flag, and that is the sign of an increased rally. If the bears were really in charge, we would have broken to the downside by now. That's just the way the markets work. The fact that Bitcoin has not done that, and the fact that Bitcoin is consolidating up here, is ample proof that Bitcoin is going to break to the upside in it of itself. And that, my friends, is only one of the things that we're talking about in this video, let alone all the other things that we've talked about in previous streams. Let's open the floor for chat for just a second, guys. Let's get some engagement going on in that. Any questions? Let's go to full screen. Any questions that we have, let's go ahead and discuss those before we move on. Yeah, no,
so you kind of dealt with it, Jebb, when you were talking about the stock market and how it relates, but people are asking, like, oh, wasn't the pandemic good for it? Wouldn't that an opportunity for online industries to actually grow?
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Yeah, I know you talked about
Absolutely, yeah. So
expound.
here's the deal, guys. When the coronavirus pandemic started, I think I'm safe to say coronavirus now, by the way. For a long time, we would get like shut down on videos and stuff whenever
Really?
I said that. Yeah, no, that's why we couldn't stream for a year.
Yeah, you learn new things every
Anyway,
day.
it was always fine for me to say COVID, so I'm going to say COVID. Here's the deal. COVID was very bad for central currencies. Why? Very simply, the economy took a hit, and the federal governments of the governments of the world, the central governments of the world, and the central banks of the world turned to money printing to inject liquidity into the economy to prop up industry. In English, you don't need to know what all that means. In English, all that means economy go down, inflation go up. That's what happened, and it devalued currencies around the world. When you devalue currencies, people look to currencies that are not going to be devalued, right? Because people want to hold on to their value. In the last 10 years, you saw something like 54 million% inflation happen in the Venezuelan bolivar. Here's what happened in Venezuela. 54 million% inflation happened in the span of several years. The elites in Venezuela were able to store their wealth in things like gold and the U.S. dollar, which relatively speaking, the U.S. dollar was undergoing inflation, but not 54 million%. The elites were able to keep their money in foreign currencies and foreign commodities that would hold their value. The peasants, the people in Venezuela that got screwed, couldn't do that. The only thing they had to transact in was the bolivar and Bitcoin. And the Venezuelans that turned to Bitcoin were the ones that held onto their value and didn't get it all stolen from them by the central government that was printing Venezuelan bolivars out of thin air. The reason that ties back into what we're saying here is that the coronavirus pandemic was bad for the world economy, which led governments to print money, which points people towards a more saleable, otherwise known as a currency that's able to store value over time better, currency such as Bitcoin. That takes years to play out, and that has not finished just yet. What you need to understand is that this is the backdrop for the adoption of the next 5 to 10 years on Bitcoin. Mass inflation on many world currencies is something that it didn't just happen for a year. This is not just a 2020 event. This starts in 2020, and it will continue probably forever. It's already been going on for 100 years, so we just jumped in the middle of this. The point is, currency is inflating, and it's bringing value towards Bitcoin, away from the U.S. dollar. I think my point has been made.
There's actually I sent this to you earlier this week, Jebb. I'm going to actually put it in our planning. If you go look under here, I'm putting it right now.
Okay.
All right, so there's an article written by a professor, I believe, from Wyoming. Let me scroll back up to his name. His name is Bradley Rettler, and he's kind of going into details about what you're talking about right now.
Okay.
And this whole paper, I don't think we have time to read the entire thing, but he's an assistant professor of philosophy. He's talking about how, the idea of what's happening that everyone notices. Currently, the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer.
Yep.
And he talks about, if you just look at the taglines and all of this stuff, he is talking about how owning cash is a losing game. Now, that's different because, obviously cash is king. You do want to have a good amount of cash on hand. But I think what he's writing this whole thing about is about the poor people continually being poorer and the rich people being richer.
Yep.
He goes on to talk about how owning Bitcoin is actually the solution to fixing this problem.
And let me expand upon that really quickly. Let's make sure we're on full screen for this, guys. Here's because people have been arguing about this whole rich keep getting richer, poor keep getting poorer thing for a long time. Here's the deal. The rich will always be vastly more rich than the poor. It's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the trees make up 80% of the canopy. 20% of the wealth ends up with 80% of the wealth ends up with 20% of the people. The 80-20 rule is an intrinsic law of nature. Go study the 80-20 rule. There will always be a small section of a civilization that is much, much more wealthy than the rest. That's just the way it works. Here's the problem. When that section gets so much more wealthy that 80% of the society looks at them and says, hey, let's go destroy them and take all their wealth, that's when you end up with a civil war or a revolution in 1917 in Russia. That's when societies collapse, and you don't want that to happen. That's not good for anyone, not for the rich and not for the poor. You don't want a civil war. The reason that the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer is not because the rich are greedy. It's not because the rich are evil. It's actually not having to do with any of that. The reason the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer is because of inflationary monetary policy. Yeah. It is because of unstable currencies. Here's the reason. Let me boil this all down really simply so you have something you can walk away with. The reason the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer is because of this. The rich invest and the poor save. Let me say that again. The rich invest and the poor save. What do I mean? The poor save their money in something like the U.S. dollar, which loses, in a good year, 2% of its value every single year. So the rich are investing in things that will bring them 2, 5, 10, 20, 100, 200, 500, 1,000% returns year over year.
Yes.
The rich keep getting richer because they're not keeping their money in US dollars. They're investing it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's this whole argument about cash flow versus cash. Cash is king. You need cash. You need liquid capital. You need something that you can move around very quickly. You need M1 money supply if you're a student of economics. You need money that's easily accessible without having to pay taxes and fees. That's neither here nor there. The point is, the reason the poor keep getting poor and the rich keep getting richer is because the rich have access and they look towards better forms of currency. What's the best form of currency in our world right now? Bitcoin. And that is why we are here. Because the poor keep getting poorer. It's really not about the rich getting richer. That's great. Good for them. I'm not jealous of the rich getting rich. Good for them. The problem is when the poor keep getting poor. And make no mistake, the poor are getting poor. It is harder to feed your family now than it was 100 years ago. And that's sad, considering all the technology we have, relative to how much economic growth we've had. I should put that as a caveat. Yeah. The reason that's happening is because of a bad monetary policy that embraced inflationism under Keynesian economics. I'm not going to get into all of it in today's video. Read the Bitcoin Standard. I think I've said that in every single video lately. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. We're trying to provide the best value that we possibly can here. I think Smay's got something to tell you.
I have something to say. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Smay, tell us to hit the like button.
You already know what I'm going to say, guys. Like the stream.
Smash that like button, guys. Let's see if we can't get to 250 likes. I think something great's going to happen at 1,000 likes, right?
Yes. If we get to 1,000 likes, we will continue and extend the show to answer more questions. So if you have a lot of questions and you want them answered, we will do our best to answer them all throughout the show. However, if we get that 1,000 likes, we will extend the show to continue to answer your questions. So hit that like button.
Hero said, but the elite rich are the ones in control of the current monetary policy.
Yes.
Right on the money, my friend. That is exactly my point. The rich are the people that are in charge of the monetary policy, and they use inflationary policy to slowly tax you out of existence, not only through taxes, but also inflation, which acts like an invisible tax on your value. That's the problem, and Bitcoin democratizes that and brings economic justice to the entire world. That's one of the reasons we love it. That is the reason we love it.
Another article, Jedd, that I actually sent this to you a couple days ago, right? I don't know if you guys saw this. Again, we're not going to pull it up here. JP Morgan, the CEO of JP Morgan, recently came out expressing his fears about Bitcoin and about DeFi and about the idea of having a decentralized system. And when you read the article, I sent it to Jebb, what he literally is saying is, if you read into what he's meaning, I'm afraid that if Bitcoin blows up, the banks will go away. That the centralization
That's literally what he's
will
saying.
go away. And so I'm afraid for my job. I'm afraid for my business. It is absolutely crazy that haters are turning into fearful mongers trying to spread their fearful message. Like literally the CEO of JP Morgan went from saying Bitcoin is terrible to now giving it a pretty big price prediction. They believe, even though I don't think that they're anywhere close to where Bitcoin will actually max out at, they've actually started making moves being afraid. The article talked about the benefits of centralized money, the benefits of centralized banking, which, don't get me wrong, there are some, but at the end of the day, all you need to know about the cons of centralized banking, the centralized money, look at our history when money and currency is centralized versus when money is decentralized. And that's all you need to know. GarageBod says, Jebb's premise is partly mistaken. The rich keep getting richer are because they are more informed. The poor don't have the resources, time, understanding of financial principles. Actually, I completely agree with that. And that's the reason this channel exists. Yes.
That's literally the entire reason this channel exists.
Right on the nail.
You hit it right on the nail. You and I don't disagree. I just didn't convey that properly, I suppose. The entire reason this channel exists is to take you from a poor mindset of not understanding finances and not understanding the tools and the resources and the skill sets that you need to become a crypto millionaire the way that we've managed to do over the last 4 years of working in this market every day. We want to take you from that mindset of living paycheck to paycheck and buying Gucci belts when you don't really need it. I went to high school with a guy who was making $750 an hour, and he was bragging about his Gucci belt. And I asked him, how much money do you have in your savings account? He said 0. And I said, yeah, there you go. How useful is that Gucci belt? I love the guy. By the way, the dude is like making $100,000 a year in the stock market trading right now. It's great. Yes. The way that he went from being ignorant and thinking Gucci belts were the way you become rich and looking rich is the same as being rich, which it's not. The way that he transitioned that is understanding that you need to invest in your education. That's the entire point of this channel, is to transition you from the wrong mindset to a mindset that will bring you wealth. Bitcoin is an incredibly important part of that. Anyway, guys, make sure you smash that like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and look at the third of these points here. Let's go ahead and jump onto my screen and we will go over this. Coinbase punctuates booming on-chain indicators. Guys, we talked about 4 or 5 on-chain indicators in, was it Friday's stream that we talked about all those on-chain indicators?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was Friday's stream. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch that. It was a great stream. I think you guys will enjoy it. Anyway, Coinbase punctuates on-chain indicators. If you didn't know, Coinbase is going IPO on the 14th, by the way. That is Wednesday. Keep an eye out for that.
And we, just to answer your guys' questions, we are buying.
Yes. We are buying Coinbase stock, and we'll keep you guys up to date with that. Cointelegraph has often reported on the strength of Bitcoin on-chain indicators this year. These consistently demanding a continuation of the bull market throughout 2021. This statement right here is absolutely true. These on-chain indicators, what they mean, consistently demand a continuation of the bull market throughout 2021. This is why we can be confident. This is one of the reasons we can be confident that the bull market is not coming to a conclusion, and we have a long way to go. We're going to get to this chart here in a second, by the way, the one that was in the thumbnail. That has to do with what we're talking about right now. We're getting to that here in just a second. Despite the past week's consolidation, nothing has changed for fundamentals. Boom. Thank you, Cointelegraph. This is one of the reasons I love Cointelegraph. I would love to talk to someone from Cointelegraph on this show. Let us know if you'd be interested in that. Nothing has changed for fundamentals. Repeat that. Nothing has changed for fundamentals. Whenever you're worried about price, if you have price anxiety, ask what the fundamentals are doing. When you have price anxiety, ask what the fundamentals are doing. What are they doing? They're getting better. Okay, we don't have to be anxious. Cool. Which shows that Bitcoin is not near the end of the bull cycle peak, for example, like that of December 2017. I talked about that earlier. This right here, this massive rally we're in, looks nothing like what we saw in 2017 for a plethora of different reasons. We're going over several of them in this show. Anyway, summary, derivs a bit overheated, constant strong spot bid, institutional driven flow, no peak retail euphoria yet, mainstream adoption getting very real, Coinbase IPO could be a volatile catalyst, I concluded. These are all different reasons that we're not going to get into it in the stream, but each one of them is a very strong reason why Bitcoin is going to go much, much farther. Many of those points refer to material already covered by Cointelegraph, while Coinbase's upcoming direct listing on NASDAQ on Wednesday may provide a rare counterpoint to this narrative. Specifically, listing day could often see a sell-off for companies going public, and this Wednesday may therefore see temporary volatility. This is actually why I think Bitcoin is going to rally this week and why my price prediction is so bullish that we'll go over at the end of the show. Whenever Coinbase goes public, whenever it goes IPO, the reason that we're going to see volatility is because people like to buy the rumor, sell the news. Well, the news is the launch. People are going to sell Bitcoin and shares of Coinbase. They're going to buy it, it's going to rally, and then they're going to sell it. You can probably expect it to do that. You see that happen with all ICOs all the time. There's going to be a lot of volatility coming into the market when Coinbase goes IPO. That's the point. When Coinbase goes IPO, there will be a lot of volatility. What do we lack right now? What do we need to see? We need to see volatility. Remember that analogy of the spring tightening. The spring's getting really tight. It's really tight, really tight. You know what volatility does? It shakes your hands, and then boom, you lose your power over that spring, and the spring explodes, and all that energy is released. Right now, Bitcoin has so much potential energy stored up because we have all these fundamentals, and it's going to be released. We're actually going to talk about that a little bit later on in this stream. But the point is, Bitcoin has a ton of volatility stored up right now, and it's going to be released, and it's going to be released to the upside. And that leads us to this chart right here, the one that you saw in the thumbnail. Bitcoin after the third halving. What this chart shows is it shows a range of where Bitcoin should go based on previous halvings. If you'll notice, and if you know the Bitcoin chart very well, you will notice this very first, this upper section right here represents the time between 2012 and 2016. Let me show you. It represents this time right back over here. Let me get BLX up. It represents this time right here. Notice how this chart in here looks strikingly similar. That's a different article. Strikingly similar to this upper section right here. Notice that? That is between 2012's halving and the 2016 halving. Then it loops all the way back over here, and this is between the 2016 halving and the 2018 halving. Notice how this chart looks like this right in here. This is the 2018 cycle, the 2016 to 2020 cycle, and that is this section. What this is doing is it's plotting the history following Bitcoin halvings on top of themselves and showing you what the market does. And then we see the first year and a half after the previous halving, which happened about 300 days ago, just under a year ago, last year. You can see that gives us a range of where Bitcoin should be going based on percentage growth. You can see right here in blue, growth range defined by the previous halvings. These halvings are defining the growth range should Bitcoin maintain the same growth rate, and I think it will maintain slightly lower, but still a relatively similar growth rate. That would put Bitcoin at an absolute bottom of $165,000 in the next year. Let's go to full screen. This chart, based on what it's showing, is putting Bitcoin at an absolute bottom of $165,000 within the next year and upwards of $400,000 in the next year. Excited yet? By the way, in case you're wondering, Jebb, should we trust this chart? It's just some chart someone came up with. It has to do with halvings and whatever. Who cares about this chart? Should you care? Yes, you should care. The reason you should care is because predictions and technical analysis and fundamental analysis is based off of historical data. The way you do technical analysis is you look back, you say this has happened 7 times, therefore it's probably going to happen an 8th time. You look to see, is the pattern going to continue or is the pattern going to break? That's literally what technical analysis is. It's looking for a pattern saying, is it going to continue this time or is it going to break this time? Based on everything we've seen in this stream, the mini streams that we've done recently, and all of the research that we've done on screen and off of screen behind the scenes, we have every reason to believe the pattern's going to continue and Bitcoin will go into a massive rally. So when we talk price predictions, it very well may be volatile for the next couple of weeks. It very well may mean Bitcoin could go down a little bit or Bitcoin could go up a little bit. The fact of the matter is the fundamentals point very bullish moving into the future on Bitcoin. What are our questions on that, Tim? Do we see anything great in chat?
There's a couple of things. First of all, what I'm kind of chasing right now is Anthony Bardonzan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I know you've commented a lot. You usually give us a lot of good things to chew on. There's an article he's talking about the digital yuan. I don't know how we pronounce the Chinese dollar. I'm not an expert in that. We were going to talk about this a little bit, but what he posted and asked me to look up with this article saying, bye-bye Bitcoin, the PRC China has launched the digital yuan. It will change everything. And I'm not going to read the entire article because it's pretty long. But what it's kind of going into is saying that, China, okay, we talked about this a little bit before last week, how China wants to create or use the idea of Bitcoin as almost like this weapon against the United States, right? This is my thing. I know Jebb has a very strong opinion on this. What it's looking like is this digital yuan, which people are saying might kill the need for Bitcoin, is not a new thought. People have been saying that for a while. I know Jebb has a very strong opinion on a centralized form of Bitcoin, so I'm going to let him go ahead and detail that. I'm
going to answer that, and really quickly I'm going to answer another question just very quickly because it alludes to my previous point. Someone said that analogy is stupid. When you play roulette and it's on red 10 times, it doesn't change the odds for it happening on the 11th time. Here's why you're wrong. Roulette is purely random. Charts are based on people doing technical and fundamental analysis. People make trades because of technical analysis, which means because technical analysis is used by the masses, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Therefore, it has nothing to do with roulette, and it's not the same thing. Anyway, what Tim is saying has to do with the Chinese yuan and the idea of a digital yuan that is centralized.
Someone's saying it's yuan.
Yuan. It is. It's pronounced yuan. Excuse me. The Chinese cannot be allowed to control currency. Here's the deal, guys.
No one can be allowed to control currency.
No one can be allowed to control currency. You're right. Here's the deal. How do I put this? There's a concept in economics that you guys need to know. It's called salability. You may have heard me say that word at least 3 times in this stream alone. Salability refers to several different things, but it basically means the ability for a currency to be used in different media. For example, salability over time means the ability for a currency to retain its value over time. It is more or less a law of economics, a law of economies, that whenever you have a currency that is more saleable, i.e. it is able to store value better over time, it will take over. It will become the widespread currency. It might take 100 years. Might not happen overnight. But whenever you have a more saleable form of currency, the economy will always move in the direction of the more saleable form of currency. Why is that? The power players are going to invest in that currency because they know it is the safest place for their money, and when the power players invest in it, everyone else does too. The good news is on Bitcoin, the power players and the everyman are investing in Bitcoin, the most saleable form of currency we have right now, and because of that, Bitcoin is going to be mass adopted. The Chinese can do whatever they want with a digital yuan. I couldn't care less, because at the end of the day, China, just like every other nation in the history of the world, will embark on inflationary monetary policy. You guys may have heard Trump talking about this a lot back when he was in office. He was always talking about, the Chinese are devaluing their currency. The Chinese are devaluing their currency. Everyone devalues their currency. Everybody gets upset at everyone else devaluing their currency. I get upset at everyone devaluing their currency, but I'm not a hypocrite because I don't stand for it. The U.S. government gets mad when China or Iraq or the EU or Britain or whoever devalues their currency, but we're doing the same exact thing. So really, can we talk? No. The reason I could not care less about a Chinese yuan, whatever, is because it doesn't matter. They can't compete with Bitcoin. And this goes back to an analogy that I made in the car with Tim the other day. I was talking to Tim about the proliferation of Bitcoin and how Bitcoin will become proliferation. I use the example of nuclear weapons. How do you fight a country that has nuclear weapons? You're not going to invade them. They're just going to drop a bomb on you. How do you fight a country with nuclear weapons? This is something that We know from history. We know how you fight a nuclear war without having to have a nuclear war. You go into a Cold War. They're building bombs, so you're building bombs. They build bigger bombs, we build bigger bombs. They build longer range bombs, we build longer range bombs. You up the ante. If Bitcoin, like Peter Thiel was saying just a few days ago, wants to use Bitcoin as a weapon against the U.S., the only avenue that the United States has to counteract that is by adopting Bitcoin themselves. Because Bitcoin is unstoppable in the same way that nuclear bombs are unstoppable. You can't just go invade a country and expect them not to drop a bomb on you to defend themselves. It's just not the way humans work. To prevent the annihilation of yourself from nuclear bombs, you have to have the bomb yourself. And I'm not saying that's a great idea. I'm not saying nuclear proliferation is a morally, objectively good thing. I am, however, saying that it is the way that humans operate. And the same thing will be true for Bitcoin. If China, or if the EU, or if America starts adopting Bitcoin and using Bitcoin as a weapon, which is not true because Bitcoin's actually using that government, not the other way around. Make no mistake, these governments have zero control over Bitcoin whatsoever.
Yeah.
If those governments try to adopt Bitcoin and use it as a weapon against a foreign country, what the other country will have to do, because they have two options, either one, they have to start adopting Bitcoin themselves, or two, be completely and utterly destroyed economically because Bitcoin lays the foundation for a superior economic model based on free markets that we know from history is the way that economies advance.
Yes.
All of that to say, in case all of that was over your head, I will boil it all down very simply for you. If one country starts adopting Bitcoin, in the long run, they will benefit from it. And the only way you can compete with a country that adopts a better form of money is by adopting a better form of money yourself. It's the way that technological improvement is adopted throughout the world. If Apple comes out with a new technology and they're using it to compete against Android, Android has to come out with the same technology to compete against Apple. The only way the only way that those competitors can compete against each other is by adopting the same technology and evening the playing field. That is one of the ways that Bitcoin will reach mass adoption, is by multiple different countries using it to compete against each other and therefore doing Bitcoin's work of marketing it and proliferating it. That's one of the ways that Bitcoin will become mass adopted, is by people trying to use it to their own benefit and then everyone fighting with it by adopting it, and then the only person that wins is Bitcoin itself and the people using it.
So what I want to even clarify for the people asking, and what this article is talking about, and Jebb, you mentioned this, but I want to reiterate so you guys understand. Anthony, you're right. This is actually China trying to compete with Bitcoin. They're seeing the benefits of Bitcoin, and then they're saying, let's create our own to devalue the stability of the U.S. dollar, which has been the world stability currency
World
for a
reserve
while.
currency.
Yeah, world reserve currency. Here's what Jebb is trying to communicate. First of all, this is something to keep an eye on. While it is stupid in terms of it would set us back to adopt this currency, there are people who will go this way. But this is what this channel is all about. We want to teach people, and we want to see people think for themselves and not just follow the mainstream mantra. So what we have here is Bitcoin's advantageous side is that nobody owns it and that nobody will control it. That's the definition of DeFi. When China comes out with this, the only reason it will defeat Bitcoin is if we forget our history of what happens with currency and we give power back to one entity and we let them decide what everything is valued as. Bitcoin will win as long as people like us, like here, you guys watching, continue to educate ourselves on the history of finance and the history of currency, and we do not allow countries like China, United States, United Kingdom, Germany, whatever country, no one entity should have the control over what currency looks like. And that's what a digital yuan, whatever we're going to call it, that's what that is it's taking the advantages of Bitcoin, but then centralizing it. And if we're educated and we stay on top of knowing what is good for us and what is bad for us, we will never let that happen.
And here's the deal, guys. I'll wrap this whole point up into a nice, neat little bow for you. The very nature of a decentralized currency, of a limited supply currency, is that it distributes the power of economies across the masses and prevents that power from being centralized into one government. And by the way, it's a superior form of money, and as we talked about earlier, superior forms of money naturally, based on laws of economics, proliferate themselves. It is inevitable that Bitcoin or something with a limited supply, decentralized nature like Bitcoin becomes the world currency. It's inevitable, unless some kind of totalitarian regime comes in, takes over the whole world, and shuts down Bitcoin on every single computer. That is the only way that could be prevented. It's the law of propagation. It's you drop dye into a piece of into some water, you give it enough time, it's going to propagate throughout the whole thing of water because the laws of physics dictate that that's the way it's going to happen. The laws of economics are going to dictate that Bitcoin is going to become very, very successful. Anyway, guys, if you're enjoying today's stream, make sure you smash that like button. Let's see if we can get to over 500 likes, and consider subscribing to the channel if you want more content just like this, guys. We are here to help you reach your goals of becoming financially free. If that's something you want to get behind, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well.
Real quick, just the last thing I'm going to say on this whole thing. There was a comment by P. Falconology where he said, you guys are talking very wrong about the yuan. The reason they're making it digital is so they can take control of the new Silk Road they are building. You're absolutely right. That's what they're doing. And so it is up to us to stop that from happening. It is up to Bitcoin was made to stop those things from happening. So therefore, make sure that we continue to educate ourselves and educate others.
Guys, before we move on, I do want to mention that there is a new sale running on the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy that is called none other than April 2021. You can find that here in just a second in the description. I think we're posting that to our description right now. That's going to get you $40 off on the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. Drop a 1 in chat if you've gone through CT2A and you're loving it. Guys, over in CT2A, we teach everything having to do with technical analysis, and here's why you ought to care about that. Number one, if you want to become a profitable trader and investor, you have to understand technical analysis. Technical analysis is the way that you can predict with any degree of certainty what the market is going to do next, and that's a prerequisite for making profitable trades, right? You have to have an understanding of what the market is likely to do next before you can make the trade. It's just the way it works. Again, if you go into heart surgery, you have to know anatomy. If you want to go into flight school, you probably are going to have spent some time in a flight simulator, and you'll probably understand a thing or two about aeronautics. If you want to go into trading, you need to understand technical analysis. It's absolutely critical. It's a prerequisite to becoming a good trader, and that's why we teach technical analysis with the link in the description box down below. Again, April 2021 will get you $40 off on the Academy. And remember, guys, I'm not selling you information on technical analysis. What I am selling you is this. I'm selling you your time because I value your time. Guys, it took me thousands of hours to learn everything I learned. I boiled it down into a 12-hour course to save you time so that you don't have to go around the whole internet trying to find answers to questions that you don't even know to ask. If you want to save some time and you want to learn what you actually need to learn to become a profitable trader in cryptocurrency this week, not in the next 3 years, check us out. The link in the description box down below. We have 2 free preview videos if you'd like to get a taste before you join, and we do have a full 14-day money-back refund guarantee if you decide it's not for you. Go ahead and join us with the link in the description box down below. Where are we going next, Tim?
Our marketing director texts us. He wants you to know it ends tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Yep.
So make sure you act quickly. You have a little more than 24 hours to act on that code.
Yep.
So make sure you take advantage of it.
Yep.
We kind of talked about our second segment right there because our second thing was China versus U.S. update. So Anthony, you kind of got us right into our second segment.
Yep.
Great topic right there. Let us know in chat, what do you guys think? I know there are people that disagree with us. There are people who have different opinions, and that's the beauty of this channel is that we are giving you our opinion, but the more we have other opinions and we discuss them, that's how you get to an end. That's how you get to truth, is when there is friction and when there's discussion happening. So let us know in chat what you guys think on all of that. Also, let us know questions about other things happening. As we talked about earlier in the stream, XRP and Binance Coin have blown up. This is alt season. This is alt season, guys. Like, alt season is blowing up. Let us know what you guys think about that. Jebb, do you have anything you want to talk about there?
Yeah, guys. Binance Coin just rallied to $580. Fresh new all-time high, and it looks like it is poised to become the third cryptocurrency to breach the 12-figure mark. 12. Count them, 12 figures. Over $100 billion in valuations, looking like it's coming right around the corner. Cardano's trading at $1.30, and I think that's going to go a lot higher. We actually just recorded a video on where I think Cardano is going by the end of this year, by the end of this month. So if you want to see where I think Cardano is going, make sure you subscribe and hit the post notification bell because we will be talking about that in today's video. That'll be going out in a few hours. But yeah, Cardano is up 2% today. Binance Coin is up 22% today. And I'm really excited about it, guys. Let's go back to full screen. Let's see. Are there any good questions in chat? Let's open up the last couple of minutes here before we wrap out in about 5 minutes to some questions, and we'll try and get some quick answers. What do we got?
Good question from Garage Bods, I think.
Garage Bods.
Is it possible for a government to create a crypto that appears to be decentralized, but they use it to manipulate the crypto markets? Their coin could have greater scarcity, say only a total of 15 million.
2 things. Number 1, scarcity is not dictated by the supply. Scarcity is dictated by how quickly the supply increases. Case in point, Bitcoin has a maximum supply of 21 million. Bitcoin could have a maximum supply of 21 billion, and it would still be just as scarce. The reason that Bitcoin is scarce has not to do with its actual total supply, but to do with its supply increase year over year. For example, The US dollar has a supply increase. This isn't actually the number, but let's call it 2% year over year. We have 2% inflation. It's going to be around 2% supply increase year over year. That 2% inflation is what the problem is on the US dollar. Again, those two things, supply increase and inflation, are not actually directly connected, so don't think I'm saying that. The inflation of the U.S. dollar is because of the increase in supply year over year. The increase in supply year over year on Bitcoin is astronomically smaller than that because of the halvings we've gone through, meaning that something called the stock to flow ratio is very high. The stock to flow ratio is a very simple calculation. It's not very complicated. People try and make it complicated. It's really simple. Stock to flow ratio is simply the ratio of how much is in existence to how much is coming into existence. So, for example, if there's if let's say fictional cryptocurrency, there's 100 million cryptocurrency in existence and 1 million cryptocurrency are being created every year. X cryptocurrency, 100 million in existence, 1 million being created every year. The stock to flow ratio is 100. Why? Because you divide 1 by 100, 1 million by 100 million, you get 100. The stock to flow ratio is 100. The higher that stock to flow ratio is, the more scarce it is. The more scarce it is, the more saleability over time it'll have, and the more likely it is for an economy to move there. For everyone who understands what I'm talking about and understands the pig Latin I just spoke, you get what I'm saying, but I'll make it simple for everyone who doesn't have all the training I do in this. The reason that Bitcoin is scarce is because its supply increase is very slow. I'm literally just going to leave it at that. That's that. As far as the beginning of your question, that was actually the second part of this question. Let me scroll up here. Let's see. Is it possible for government to create a crypto that appears to be decentralized, but they use it to manipulate the crypto markets? Theoretically, yes. In practice, no. And the reason is because digital currencies that are decentralized are going to be open source, which means we're going to be able to see the code. We're going to be able to see how they're programmed, which means that it's going to be impossible to hide anything in that code if it's actually open source. A cryptocurrency, by its very nature, that is decentralized, cannot be partially decentralized. It's either decentralized or it's not. There's not a gray area there. And here's the other thing. If governments of the world ever did that, and if governments of the world ever introduced a decentralized cryptocurrency with limited supply, and then all of a sudden they came out of nowhere and said, oh, by the way, we're inflating at 2% a year because we're readopting inflationary monetary policy. If they did that, the entire system would collapse and something like a Bitcoin would be adopted within a matter of weeks, more than likely. Because if you switch from limited supply theory and the Austrian School of Economics theory of money, which states that you need a limited supply currency, and you move towards a Keynesian School of Economics theory of inflationary monetary policy that quickly, it's not going to be good for the economy, and people will naturally choose the better currency. Great question, though.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so say I'm outside of the U.S. This is hypothetical. Say I'm outside of the U.S. and I'm trying to get into trading. What's the best exchange outside of the U.S. do you
That's a great question, guys. We recommend Bybit. That link for that exchange is in the description box down below. Make sure you check us out. There is an affiliate link for Bybit. If you sign up with Bybit, not only are you going to be getting access to a fantastic cryptocurrency exchange that does allow for margin if you're trying to make more money with margin. By the way, margin is dangerous, so be careful with it. But if you know what you're doing, it's a way of increasing your profits. You can sign up for Bybit with a link in the description box down below. It's one of the most adopted cryptocurrency exchanges in the entire cryptocurrency industry right now, for a good reason, by the way. It is the one we recommend. Links in the description box down below. That does help out this channel. Thank you guys so much for that.
Yeah, so we did not get to 1,000 likes, so we're not going to extend the show. I do want to ask one more question for Jebb to give a good, quick answer to, because I saw this chatted a lot. But this will be the last question for today, and then we will close out the stream, and we'll be here all week, so make sure you check back in. But MS1904 asked a question. He said, here's my problem. I don't know if that's a he or she, so whoever this is. Here's my problem. Say I own 1 Bitcoin. Do I sell all / some of it at 200,000 or later this year and risk opportunity cost as some sort of super cycle occurring and the price continue to go up for 3 to 5 years, or do I hodl?
Question. Do you actually believe that Bitcoin will become a world currency that'll dominate and become the backbone of how we do this whole money thing in modern civilization? The answer to that question is the same answer to the question that you just posed. If you actually believe that, then hodl and don't sell. Because it might go through a bear market, but it's going to continue going up if we truly believe in the fundamentals. If you don't truly believe in the fundamentals and you're only here because of the massive rallies we've seen, then yeah, sell. Don't stay invested in something you don't believe in. I can't force you to believe in something. I can try and convince you, which is the whole reason this channel exists, but I can't force you to. If you believe in Bitcoin, hodl. If you don't believe in Bitcoin, sell. It really is that simple.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
We will for sure be making a video very near future detailing exactly a strategy you might want to use. The answer is you for sure don't want to sell all of it. There might be a time or a place you sell a little bit of it,
Sure,
because you're going to buy back in. But that being said, We'll leave that for another video.
Indeed.
We are going to wrap out the stream with letting you guys know what the predictions are for our team competition looks like for Friday. So we started this last week. What we are doing, just in case you guys are not clear what's happening, is we are making predictions for what ADA, Ethereum, and Bitcoin will look like on Friday. These are not for the use of trades. These are all very subjective votes.
Entertaining predictions
Please don't
only.
make trades based off
These are predictions for entertainment.
This is for a little bit of our own fun and maybe for your fun as well. So just so you guys know, ADA is sitting at about $1.30 right now. Ethereum around 2,160, or at least it was when I checked a second ago. And then Bitcoin is sitting around 60,500. So you will follow with us all week to see what we have. Do you guys want to read your own predictions, or do you want me to read them for you?
Go ahead and read mine, if you will.
All right, so ADA, SMAY, Team SMAY. Let us know in chat if you are a Team SMAY fan. He believes that Cardano will grow by a whopping 1 cent and be sitting at $1.31 on Friday.
Hater.
So at least he's bullish. He's usually bearish on Cardano, so he's moving in the right direction of optimism.
Look, I like Cardano. I just think it's not going to stay up by Friday.
Well,
it's a prediction, guys. Come on.
It's a prediction. Yep, he's right. Team Jebb is very bullish on Cardano, especially I think this is in light of the Coinbase news, which I think affects every single one of his predictions, affects mine as well. He is saying that Cardano is going to get to a whopping $1.43, which would be phenomenal. I love that vote. Let us know if you're Team Jebb. I'm not far behind because I think that it's going to get to $1.40. In reality, I think what's going to happen is it's going to get a lot higher than that, but we're going to see a slight dip. I would be very, very happy for Jebb to win that because I would love to see Cardano sitting at 143. That being said, though, let us know in chat. Are you Team Jebb, Team SMAY, or Team Tim when it comes to Cardano?
Let's hear it.
When we move to Ethereum, sitting currently around 2160, we got SMAY. He's bullish. Not a whole heck of a lot because he says 2200. So he thinks it's going to grow by a whopping $40. Let us know in chat. Are you in the same boat? Recently, SMAY has come out a little bit of an Ethereum hater. I don't know if he's a big fan of Ethereum.
You pronounced winning a lot wrong.
Oh, true.
I've come out as a winner. Winner of the competition.
You know, in the NFL, the Patriots won for a very long time, and then things changed.
And then they got cocky.
I don't think Patriots are winning anytime soon.
They got cocky.
So, let us know what you think. Jebb says 2,325, which I like a lot because I'm not that far off. Because I believe that Ethereum's going to be sitting at $2,395. So let us know in chat. What are you? Are you a hater with Team SMAY? Are you more optimistic, Team Jebb or Team Tim? Let us know. By the way, Team Tim fans, I know some of you have been faithful. You stuck with me. We're coming for some W's very soon, and I believe this might be the start of it.
Hashtag
Last
Team Jebb.
one. So we wrap this out. Bitcoin sitting currently around 60,500. SMAY actually made a little move on this one, saying 62,500. I think that's a good vote. Not as high as I think it's actually going to go, but a good vote. Jebb says 63,000 flat. You guys, I think that we're going to see a massive rally when this Coinbase news comes out.
Yep.
I believe we're going to 65,000. I've been wrong before, but if you think that we're about to explode, which if you look at the chart, we are ready for it. We're going to 65,000. I actually think I might be a little low on that. I think we might be a little higher. Let us know in chat, though.
All right.
Are you Team SMAY, the hater? Are you Team Jebb, the TA expert? Or are you Team Tim, the voice of the people, the one who is there for you guys and coming for the W's? Let us know.
Or are you Team SMAY?
Guys, if you enjoyed today's live stream, make sure you smash that like button. Humbly speaking here, guys, it really does help out the channel. We've had a lot of growth lately, and even before we wrap out the stream, I just want to tell you, not Crypto Jebb to the audience, I want to tell you, Jebb McAfee to you watching at home, thank you very much for the support, guys. We've had an incredible amount of growth over the next 6 to 12 months, and I do want to make one last announcement. I will not be here on Wednesday. The reason is because I am actually going to be gone working on some planning for everything behind the scenes, so I'm not going to be here for the show, but the reason I'm gone is so I can continue working on everything we're doing here, because we have some major things coming out this year. By the end of this year, guys, huge things are going to be dropping. We're talking an order of magnitude bigger than anything you have ever seen, and everyone who is following this channel is going to absolutely love it. So yes, I'm going to be gone. Tim's going to be filling in. Wednesday we'll be doing that. A video will be going out on Wednesday. I'm going to come in early and record it, so look forward to that. I'm going to be gone, just like every Wednesday, for the second Wednesday of every month. It's for a good purpose, though, so look forward to that. If you enjoyed today's live stream, hit that like button. I really appreciate everyone. Smash that subscribe button. Hit the post notification bell if you haven't already. Make sure you sign up for the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy with the link in the description box down below. Use coupon code April 2021, if I can speak correctly, for $40 off. That coupon code will last until 11 a.m. tomorrow. We're talking like 20 24 and a half hours here, guys. You don't have much time. Join with the link in the bio. Make sure you do that if you want to learn technical analysis so that you can become a profitable trader. I think we're good, guys. We ready to wrap it out?
Here we go.
If you enjoyed today's stream, hit that like button. Hit it. Come on now. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it out for today's video. Before I go, though, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.